we need government and our politicians are good and looking out for us and totally righteous. Yes, absolutely. Don't fall for that. And by the way, who's going to build the roads? Maybe people that have an interest in traffic. Is it that hard to imagine that like oil and gas companies would actually work to build the roads instead of, we buy gas and the government takes a part? Why not just like cut out the middleman and have someone with an incentive for, having people have roads that actually work? The real question should be, without government, who's going to fuck up the roads? On the way over here, we passed like billions of dollars, I'm sure literally like billions of dollars of road equipment sitting idle. Gas stations are open. Free market versus government. Really not that hard to figure out, people. But the answer, philosophically is really simple. Like I said, anarchy is not that hard to understand. No rulers. Anytime you say we need government, you're saying we can't figure out how to do this peacefully. Who's going to build the roads? People. People acting peacefully. People without money that needed guns pointed at people's heads in order to collect it. How about that? Is that really so hard to imagine? If you can see that, and you see how long we've been in this statist mentality, it's more like, how the hell did we survive this long without blowing each other up? Woo! Did you guys hear North Korea just nuked Japan, according to one Japanese official? That was buried in the way the headline was written. You might not have caught that. You might have just have heard that. I'm just kidding. North Korea has not nuked Japan. Calm down. Got really quiet in here. That's the one thing we take seriously, right? That's good. That's good. You guys have a good sense of perspective. I really appreciate that. But they say that we need government. They impose this requirement that if we don't have this monopoly, we won't be safe. We won't have national security. We won't have any possibility of justice. And they want you to think the government's supposed to be your parent. And this is the thing, if you're asking who should government allow to marry? How much should taxes be? Who should we elect to be our leader? You're not seeing the real ripoff behind government. You're not seeing the real exploitation that it represents. And you get to, when you grasp that and when you see that, I mean, you can talk to people and say, your lack of desire for liberty is a threat to me, because I'm getting ripped off because of your willingness to be somebody's bitch. And now you can say to every liberal and conservative in America, or moderate, or centrist, or anybody who's not an anarchist yet, if you're so afraid of freedom, why don't you move to North Korea and get the hell out of my America? Or at least out of my face. So the point I want to make here, I think to bring it home, is that this is not a fight. This is not a struggle. You have to step back and see a bigger picture than this. The only point at which you get to the bottom of the rabbit hole is when you realize that there's no bottom. And the only point at which you reach anything remotely resembling enlightenment is when you realize that any human concept of enlightenment is impossible. And what we are experiencing right now, what we are so fortunate enough to be a part of, at Anarchy in the NYC, as the tip of the spear of the freedom movement right here, at least in a certain intellectual PR sense, I can appreciate this. It's an evolutionary process. Woo! Yeah. We're like the mutants in the X-Men, right? Yeah. The only difference is that we get to make everybody else a mutant too. And it's happening. It's happening. And if you really step back, and maybe it's just going to take a little leap of faith from you on me on this part, but I wouldn't ask anybody to take any kind of leaps of faith not grounded in your own logic and reason, faith in your own mind, your own deductive powers. But technology is coming to this point in human history where we can see it going vertical. It's hitting what I can only describe as the asymptote of human existence. You know, as we see all of these incredibly important dynamics of the human experience on exponential curves going vertical, and I hear you say, oh, Adam, exponential growth curves don't go vertical. Duh. They don't hit asymptotes. How many of you are actually going to say that? Come on. Come on. This is a libertarian gathering, isn't it? All right. So, well, now you can tell me where on the planet the fastest computer is. What happens when we have, when we get past the singularity, whatever arbitrary point that is, and we have computers designing faster computers. And you see where this is going. I mean, even just right now with the 3D printer revolution, you want to ban large capacity magazines? You want to ban assault rifles? You want to spend billions of dollars pissing into a hole in the ground? I'm going to buy a 3D printer and say, sorry, suckers. That's what we're coming to. The idea of government itself, because it is in the nature of the entropy of energy at the core of life itself, is for greater cooperation. Government is going to become obsolete because coercion is simply inferior to persuasion. And when you see it on this bigger scale, and you're able to see what we're coming to, you don't have to fight for anything. You get to. This is coming like a force of nature. That warm breeze of technology that you're starting to feel now, that's for the first time, oh crap, I can't keep up with new smartphones. You're like scratching the surface of what in our lifetimes is about to go from a warm breeze to a hurricane that's just going to keep going and never, ever, ever stop. This is what humanity is on the brink of. We're the ones that get to look forward from this perspective, and we get to see this. And while you might not get to determine the fate of humanity, I mean, how arrogant and statist does that presume to be, right? We're gonna impose a plan. I know, we're the libertarian answer. We're gonna take over the world and leave everyone alone. No, you're not even gonna get that chance. The idea of liberty is going to be like hygiene. It's just sort of like, yeah, like, who was the first person that invented the toothbrush? You don't even think about it. That's what we're coming to. The ideals of liberty that we're so excited about now are about to become the status quo. And then, in a blink of another eye, it'll be ancient history. So what do you get to do? You get to shape the face of this. You get to experience this. You get to live from this broader perspective. You get to free yourself from all of the psychological cages that the government wants to impose on you and instead live free now. Thank you very much. I understand I have 30 more minutes for questions.
Adam Kokesh, ladies and gentlemen. Good up.